Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. We're gonna break down a vintage shell this time. A few of you guys have asked for some vintage shells, and this is certainly one of them. I believe these are from the 80s. Winchester XX buckshot loads. This is 10 gauge, 54 pellets of number 4 buck. This should be a 2 3/4 ounce load with buffer if they are using 24 cal number 4 buck. Either way, I'm pretty sure this is the heaviest lead load that any major factory ever offered. Other views of the box here. This is pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty simple. Nothing at all like what modern boxes look like. I actually like this box a lot. What's this? Warnings? Yep, warnings. If you want to read anything, just pause it, but the back of this box is a lot more simple and laid back than modern shot shell boxes are. This actually is pretty cool to me, even though it's just as simple as can be. Looks like someone did it in Microsoft Paint. Before moving any further, I do want to mention one thing. These are old, and it seems the brass on these shells is brittle. We fired 2 of these out of my 36-inch barrel 10 gauge whenever I got these 4 years ago, and both of them cracked. And not just a little crack, they're pretty badly cracked. But I didn't want to throw away these vintage shells, so I just stuffed them full of paper towel and a spent primer right here, and I closed them back up the best I could back then. But yeah, these were not reloads, these were right out of the box and shot. So I wouldn't, if you have these, I wouldn't fire them because it seems they're just fragile, brittle, no good anymore. I don't know. That's our experience with them though. If you guys experienced otherwise, let us know. I got these at the gun shop, literally right across the street from my house. You can actually see the roof of it where that white truck just passed by, right here. That green roof, that is the gun shop across the road from my house. So, that's a pretty handy thing to have. Anyway, here is what the shell looks like unfired. Again, I think these are from the 80s or maybe early 90s, but either way, they are at least 30 years old. You can see the crimp on these is not the greatest. They still have that burned-in crimp. Winchester, Western, I guess, has been doing this for a long, long time. You can tell these are certainly a vintage shell. I actually really like the way they did their brass way back then. This is real brass, not plated steel. But yeah, that looks really cool to me. Crimp could be better, but it's also far from the worst factory crimp I've ever seen. And I picked this one because buffer is spilling out of it. You can see the shot starts right here and ends all the way up here. And again, this should be a 2 3/4 ounce total payload, buffer, and pellets included. And for once today, guys, the wind isn't blowing 100 miles an hour, so we can actually get accurate readings on our scale. This is 2.462 ounces with the buffer and all. Well, not all, the buffer and pellets. So, they're not using 24 cal. They are probably using 22 or 23, but definitely not 24. We do have copper-plated pellets. That is always a plus. I have no idea of the hardness. This could be pure lead that's been plated. It could be high antimony. I really don't know, but it is copper plated nonetheless. You can see how high the pellets and buffer take up a 2 3/4 inch 12 gauge shell. That's still a huge payload, even if it's not 24 cal and the full 2 3/4 ounce payload. So, I counted these 3 times. The total lead payload weight is 2.389. I accidentally dropped one of the pellets, but they did have 54 pellets in the shell, so that's awesome. But yeah, sadly I lost one of the shells. That's okay, I can replace it. This is 23 cal. So I added a 23 cal pellet back to it. You can see it right there, the unplated one on top. And we have nearly the same payload we started with, buffer included. And for a charge, we have 42.6, and this is what it looks like. There you go. So here's a better view of it, and yes, my hands are clean. I just washed them because I knew I'd be handling the powder. But there's what it looks like. So here is everything else that's inside the hull. the over powder cup, over powder wad, whatever you want to call it. It is fiber, and yes, I did have to pull it out with a screw. That's fine. It's not going to hurt anything if these are ever fired for any reason, but I don't plan on ever firing these. Just going to hang on to them for my collection. Here's the other fiber wad. Not sure what that is. Probably just something from the table. But I had to pull it out with the screw too, but it's just a regular 3/8 inch fiber wad. Nothing special at all. And no Mylar wrap, nothing like that. Just over powder wad, fiber wad, and shot and buffer. That's it. Very, very simple load. Now, we do have, I might turn the flash on here, but this is a fiber base wad. I think you can see that that's what that is. And obviously straight wall. This is not a compression form shell. This is just a regular Winchester Super X or Double X from back in the day. Not a tapered hull, not compression form. These do have ribs on the plastic. There you go. Here's a little bit better view of the base wad, and yep, it is paper. And here it is put back together. I crimped it on my Lee Lodahl, and as you can see, we have a much better crimp than what it was out of the box. I just put an overshot card on that, pre-crimped it on my Lee Lodahl, and then used the OMV Rebacitor to create the middle crimp and then final crimp it. And it looks like that. No need to seal it. I did put a very thin overshot card underneath the crimp, so no buffer can ever come out. That looks great to me. Deep set, go back in the box, and sleep forever. Well, for comparison's sake, Winchester's original crimp is on the left and mine's on the right. You can see mine's a lot better. Not as dished in, more even, rounder, a lot better. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, breaking down a vintage shell in 10 gauge nonetheless. Learned quite a bit. Interesting to see how these old shells are put together. But that's going to end this one here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.